Normally when you book a cruise, you'll have to decide where you want your cabin to be. Most cruise ship cabins are pretty similar, and if you're booking a balcony, you're basically deciding where on these two sides you want your room. I'm currently in a cabin that faces backwards, and the fact that it faces backwards isn't the only strange thing about it. We decided to book this cabin mostly out of curiosity, and it definitely is different. There are some benefits and there are also a few drawbacks that we hadn't ever considered before coming on this cruise. Only 2% of cabins on this ship are at the back like this one. When we booked this cruise, it was our travel agent who suggested to us that we should try an aft balcony, aft of course being the proper word for the back of the ship. If it wasn't for our travel agent suggesting this, I don't know that we would have ever tried it. It's my parents who are staying in the cabin, and they're quite used to cruising in regular balconies. The cabin was a similar price to a regular balcony on either side, so we decided we might as well give it a go. We thought that a balcony at the back would be good for watching things like sailorways, and we hoped that the extra space would be useful, because normally the cabins at the back have bigger balconies than the regular balconies on the side. The cabin was a long way away from anything though, so we hoped that the long walk to the back wouldn't be a problem, and that the space would be usable in different types of weather. We're cruising around the UK at the moment, so that one is very, very important. I had visions of rain coming straight into the back of the balcony. I'd heard bad things about feeling more motion here, and I'd also heard things about people smelling the fumes, so I hope we wouldn't smell that. Usually cabins at the back are more expensive than those on the sides, but ours wasn't because it had a big pole in the middle. This meant that it was technically an obstructed view cabin. Our cabin was assigned to us quite far in advance, and we were given cabin 751 on the B deck. B deck is deck 11 on this ship. Princess have different names for their decks. It does get a bit confusing, but you get used to it. Looking at the deck plan, we could see that the cabin next to ours started a bit further back, and it looked as though the cabins in the middle section had smaller balconies. Looking just at the deck plans, it looked like we had the biggest balcony on the back of the ship. Our first impressions of the cabins were pretty good. We have cruised with Princess in the past, so the design didn't really come as a surprise. Princess do have a traditional feel to their cabins. There's lots of wood, there's lots of calm colours. The ship that I'm sailing on right now is the Emerald Princess. She was built in 2006, and the cabins haven't really changed much in that time. The design of the newer Princess cabins has changed slightly, but they're still definitely on the more traditional side. If you have a look here at the cabins on a cruise line like MSC, this is a much more modern design, but many people do prefer the more traditional look. Of course, it is just personal preference. As you walk into a cabin like this one, you will see a big open wardrobe area. I personally love this design because not only is there tons of storage space there, but it means that you can get changed in the morning without waking up whoever you're sharing your cabin with. Some people really don't like this design because if you're having guests around to your cabin, the first thing they'll see when they walk in is your wardrobe. I don't have any secrets in my wardrobe, so it doesn't bother me, but I know some people really don't like it. Just outside the bathroom in the wardrobe area, my brother and me had a problem that my parents didn't have. For some reason, the light in this area in our cabin was a sensor and there was no way to turn it on and off by yourself. Often I would be sat here kind of looking at what to wear and the light would go off, and if you went in the night to the toilet, there was nothing you could do to stop this light from coming on, and it was quite a bright light. It's very odd. I've never been in a cabin where that's a feature before. You may have a small kind of night light if you go to the toilet, but to have the main light by the wardrobe come on, really odd. Princess beds are incredibly comfortable, and every cabin has a fridge, they have a kettle, they have a safe. There is a desk too and a hairdryer. I don't think the hairdryer has been changed since the ship launched in 2006, but when you're in a balcony cabin like this, it's normally easier just to stick your head outside the balcony anyway, or to cut your hair short like me. That works. One thing that has changed since this ship was launched is the TVs. The TV used to be up here, but it's been replaced by a big TV on the wall opposite the beds, which is so much better. I recently took a cruise on P&O's Ventura, and she is the sister ship to this ship. Ventura still has the old style TV up here. It's not quite the original 2006 TV, but it's still quite a lot smaller and nowhere near as good as the TVs on this ship. There are loads of movies that you can watch on the Princess TVs. You can order room service too. I don't normally spend much time watching TV when I cruise, but there's so many movies on there that I like. I have watched a couple. Your Britishism of the week is a telly. We would call this a telly. A TV is a telly. I don't think it needs much more explanation than that. The space up here is kind of just redundant now, but there is a plug socket here which is very, very useful because apart from this, there's only 2 plug sockets in the cabin and they are right next to each other on the desk. They're so close together that if you're like me and you need a travel adapter, you can only use one at a time, and if you use the one on the left hand side, it turns the lights on and off, so really you've got one usable plug socket. If you're cruising on a more modern cruise ship, you'll probably find USB sockets by the bed, you'll find USB sockets on the desk. The TV was missing the daily schedule, which was a shame. It always said that we should refer to the app. We've been on this ship for 10 days at the time of recording this, and never have I ever managed to load the daily schedule on the app. We still have to take a picture of the paper version like we used to pre-apps. Princess's app is called the Ocean Medallion app, and it has a lot of amazing features, and some of them are absolutely brilliant. Sadly though, it only works about 50% of the time, and when it does go wrong, it does go very, very wrong. For some reason, the app seemed to really hate my dad. It has got a little bit better in the last couple of days, but towards the beginning of the cruise, when he would try and order one drink, it would add 6 random drinks, and none of them would ever appear. It was really, really bizarre. In theory, we could have ordered drinks to our cabins, but we never did that. For a start, we would feel bad making somebody walk all the way to the back of the ship with a drink, and also there were so many staff around the ship, all of the staff were so friendly, it was so much easier just to go to a bar, so that's what we normally did. One massive benefit of having a balcony cabin that faces backwards that I had never thought about before this cruise would be that it will be easier for other people on land to find us. Solent Ships is a brilliant YouTube channel who live streams the sailings out of cruise ships in my home port of Southampton. I was able to post in the comments where I was, and the live stream did find me. It was a little bit delayed, so I couldn't really see myself waving, but it was great fun and a really good way to start the cruise. The balcony itself is absolutely huge, and it is time probably that I talk about the elephant in the room, or in this case it is the pole on the balcony. This is the pole, and I don't think the word pole really describes it, but I can't think of a better alternative. It was basically a piece of the ship in the middle of our balcony. Looking at it initially, we did worry that this would get in the way, but in reality it really didn't. The space that was in front of the pole was similar to my regular balcony that I had on the side of the ship, so we kind of just viewed anything behind the pole as being an added benefit. Of course, if you were inside the cabin and you were kind of looking out, the pole was in the way, but from the bed you could still see more outside than if you had a kind of protected balcony like the type that my parents had on the Queen Mary 2 a little while ago. The view from the back of the ship was absolutely amazing, and when we looked down, there was nothing there at all. Normally when you look down from a cruise ship cabin, you'll see other cabins, you'll see a promenade deck, but there was absolutely nothing. It was straight down to the sea. You can't hear the water from inside the cabin, but if you're sat out there in the evening, you can hear the waves below. I know a lot of people do find the sound of water relaxing, and I do too. It is quite a lot louder than you would expect. We did find out during the cruise how important it was to either have the door open or closed, or have something in the way of the door. If you leave the door kind of in the open position, because it is at the back, it probably is slightly tilted, and it's really not much, but if it's the tiniest amount, the door will slam. We did wonder if we would feel more vibrations being here at the back of the ship, and we did wonder if we would smell smoke. We didn't smell any smoke as we sailed away from Southampton, but only time would tell. We still had a long cruise to go. The only time I would really leave the balcony door open anyway was if I was just popping in to go to the bathroom or something. The bathroom itself is pretty small, but it's clean, it's functional, and we haven't had any problems with it. The shower definitely is designed for people who are about my height, which is 5'6". If you were 6 foot or taller, you'd probably have to bend down. This is the same as it was on Ventura and all of the other ships in this class. Some people do go to the gym because they just can't fit in these showers. I know people in the past were shorter than they are now, but I don't think that really applies to 2006. That's not that long ago. The shower does have a shower curtain instead of a screen, which is kind of annoying. There's not really any way that you can stop the bathroom from getting wet when you have a shower, so it's best just to kind of let it happen and then to dry up as much as you can afterwards. Newer Princess cruise ships do have a screen instead of this curtain thing. When the weather was good, the sun would come onto the end of our balcony and we could enjoy that space, but if it got too hot, which believe it or not, it did actually get quite hot on our cruise around the UK, we could move back further into the balcony, into the shade, and it was like having a go-between space between the regular balcony and the inside of our cabin. One potential downside of having a cabin that is right at the back of the ship is the distance that you'll have to walk to get to anything. My mum said that she actually preferred it though, because she never had to think about it when she came out of the cabin. She never had to stand there and go, oh, is it right or left? Because it was always right. There was nowhere to go left, always right. We never smell any smoke or any fumes in our cabin at all. It may have been to do with our cabin location. Even though we were at the back, we were kind of at the side of the back, and I think if you were going to smell any fumes, it would happen more in the middle. I could have made that up though. I don't think I've ever smelled any fumes on any cruise ship though, even when I've been in aft suites. A friend of mine, Dan, had a lovely suite on a Princess cruise last year, a huge balcony. If there were any bad smells on this balcony, I definitely would have blamed my friend Paul from Paul and Carol Loves to Travel, and I'm sure he would have done the same with me. Paul, I am just kidding, of course. When I was spending time on my balcony, I noticed a couple of fire safety precautions that were in place following an accident that happened on another Princess cruise. 23% of the balconies were destroyed on board the Star Princess, and it changed the cruise industry forever. To find out what happened and what caused the fire, watch this video next.